Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining us yet again to this 39th edition of our Radical New Bar weekly press and public engagement. We're coming live from the Uganda Law Society along Plot 5A, John Babiha Road in Acacia. We are very grateful that you're joining us today. We'd like to thank you very, very much for making time to join us, especially those that are physically present and those that are online. Would like to take this opportunity to introduce you yet again to one of our very, very intriguing sessions in which we interact with the public in regard to topical issues that touch the law and as well as the public. We are coming to you under the mandate of the Uganda Law Society Act in Section 3 that gives us the mandate to ensure access to justice as well as help the government to administer justice. Today, we would like to take a very, very critical step to discuss a topic that touches each and all of us because it is the heart of the development of the country in Uganda, and we are still about the independence of Uganda because only last week we were celebrating 63 years of independence. Today we're not going to just discuss reflections about our independence, but we are going to add it up to discuss how the youth are either affected or have been influenced by the independence in which we are thriving. Today, as in this period of time, as we mark 63 years of independence, we gather not only to celebrate a date in history, but of course, you will all bear me witness, this has been a journey of 63 years of great hope, courage, and vision in which men, our predecessors, were able to raise that flag in 1962 that we all remember from our study of history. 6 decades later, down the road, that dream, of course, remains fulfilled in one way, but also unfinished because it is work in progress, and we've all witnessed that there's been quite a number of strides and changes ever since 1963. For those that will bear me witness, it has been a place of mixture of feelings, development, and turmoil. But you'll also agree with me that there has been quite a number of developments in as far as aspects like education, aspects like development of infrastructure, innovation, but above all, there's been peace in the country. You all know that there's been a number of wars that Uganda has been always in. And this time round, we want to change the narrative and look into whether the development in education, infrastructure, the peace we are talking about is everything. And for that matter, we would like to underscore this discussion for today in regard to the aspects in which the youth are affected or concerned, looking at situations like unemployment that we all know has bedeviled the country. There is inequality, there is corruption, there is limited space for civic participation. And here we are today asking ourselves questions like, ever since 1962, what have we achieved? What have we fallen short of? And what kind of Uganda, especially the youth, do we want to experience in the next period of time? This is going to inform us about the next discussions, and we here gathered with the presence of very distinguished youth that are coming in from various associations. That is also part of the mandate of the Uganda Law Society to interact with all aspects of people. Remember, the youth form over 75% of the Uganda's population, so we are critically talking about the population that actually defines Uganda in regard to the future. Before we start and go any further, we're going to begin the day with an opening prayer that is going to be led by one of us, Martha, that is going to usher us into the presence of the Lord so as to have a very beautiful discussion. And thereafter, we shall listen in to the national anthems and also, of course, pay tribute to one of our most iconic African political giants in our neighboring country, Kenya, our neighbors, Raila Amolo Odinga, who passed away yesterday at the age of 80. We shall be hearing more about that, and thereafter we shall delve into the topical discussion, 63 years of independence, reflections and aspirations for the youth. And that will usher us into the discussants who are here with us in order to have a discussion that is going to be helpful for the development of the country. We want to thank you once again. We'd like to ask that Martha come forth. I'll yield the stage for her to bless us with an opening prayer, the national anthems, and then we shall listen in from the CEO, who is going to give us opening remarks. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. A blessed morning to us all. Let's humble ourselves for a word of prayer. Father, we give you praise and adoration for who you are. This is the day that you have made, that we rejoice and be glad. We commit this program into your hands, O King of Glory, and we declare that everything that will go on today, that the day will be peaceful, O King of Glory, and the objective for this meeting will be achieved. We thank you for your Holy Spirit who is guiding us. We give you praise and glory. In the name of our Lord Jesus Christ, we've prayed. Amen.
Thank you so much, Martha, for that prayer. We bless the name of the Lord for our presence. What a time to be alive and to be a part of the Uganda Law Society. Very fast, we're going to hear from the Chief Executive Officer of the Uganda Law Society, who is going to render unto us opening and welcome remarks, so as to delve into our topic. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. The acting Chief Executive Officer, who is going to represent the CEO. Thank you so much.
Our distinguished guests today, Kakoza Derek, Gideon Mwanje, Chemtai Leonard, Ellen Nyakaisiki, and Angel Ashaba, the council members who are joining us online, all members of the Uganda Law Society, those who are here with us physically and those online, members of the press, ladies and gentlemen, good morning to you all. I bring you special greetings from our CEO, who is not able to join us this morning, but she sends you her warm regards. And on behalf of the CEO and the Uganda Law Society, I would like to welcome to lead. Platforms like this provide the much needed space for dialogue, reflection, and the re-imaging of Uganda's promise through the eyes of its youth. On a sad note, we extend our heartfelt condolences to the people of Kenya and indeed the entire African continent on the passing of the former Prime Minister, champion of democracy, good governance, and people-centered development. His decades-long commitment to justice, pluralism, and democratic reform left an indelible mark not only on Kenya, but across the African continent. He will be remembered as a courageous reformer and committed liberal whose vision for freedom and equality inspired generations across Africa and even beyond Africa. The Uganda Law Society joins our brothers and sisters in Kenya in mourning a patriot, a visionary, and a true statesman whose legacy will continue to inspire generations across the region. And on this note, I'd like us to take a moment of silence to honor the deceased. May his soul rest in eternal peace. So I now would like to engage openly in today's discussion, to share reflections and ideas that will inspire hope and collective action for a better and more inclusive Uganda. Thank you for listening.
Thank you so much, Ms. Sheila, for those warm remarks from the mother of the house, the Chief Executive Officer. We received them so much with humility. We would also like to reiterate the importance of the late Raila Odinga. He was one of the contestants, if you remember, at the African Union elections for the top job, and he wasn't in position to win, but he has also taken it in stride. So would like to identify and really pray with the Kenyans who are not any different from us in as far as very many cultures are concerned. So may his soul continue to rest in peace. We use this opportunity to reflect especially at what it meant also as the youth from Kenya in the House of Uganda. We're not going to take any further action. We want to delve into the topic of discussion, and in that regard, we are going to listen in to our discussants who are going to help us reflect on those questions that we asked earlier on. What next for Uganda, and what the reflections, especially in regard to independence. And our first speaker is not any visitor to us, because she has been a part of the Radical New Bar, especially in the rule of law department in regard to the establishment of rule of law clubs, which has been one of our core mandates as a department. And it is in this regard that we would like to introduce a fourth-year law student at Cavendish University. She is the president of that same rule of law club at Cavendish University and the commissioner for curricular activities at the same university, Cavendish. She has served as the deputy general secretary of Cavendish University, as well as a former general secretary at Cavendish University Rule of Law Club. Ladies and gentlemen, please brace yourselves for Miss Ellen Nyakaisiki, who is the Rule of Law Club President, Cavendish University, to take us through the discussion. Thank you. Excuse me.
A very good morning. Good morning. Good morning once again. Helen Nyakaisiki. I'm a student at Cavendish University, Uganda. Currently, I'm pursuing a Bachelor of Laws, and I'm in my fourth year, first semester. Thank you, Robert, for that beautiful introduction. Now, on the topic of years of independence, reflection, and aspirations of the youth, as Ugandans, as we mark 63 years of independence, we realize that we need to understand where we come from for us to set principles and guidelines that will take us to where we want to be. Uganda has been governed by a legal framework that served as colonial constitution before Uganda attaining its independence. We look at the Order in Council of 1902 and the Order in Council 1920. All these orders in council were not formed by Ugandans, but rather by the British Commission. Ugandans had nothing to do with it. Ugandans had nothing to do with their constitution back then. However, they aimed so much at good governance, they aimed at good leadership, they aimed at order and peace in the territory. However, before the independence, we got the Constitution, a document that was agreed upon in the London Conference in 1961, to be the Constitution of Uganda. And 1962, in March, it came into play and it focused so much on self-governance. However, finally, in 1962, October, Uganda embraced and ascertained its independence. However, with all that, we still need to understand that in the 1995 Constitution that we currently have, we have a full chapter, that chapter 4, that embraces human rights and freedoms in Uganda. That is from Article 21 up to around Article 58 of the Constitution of Uganda. However, all these series that have happened, all these series that have come, have been characterized with violations of human rights. And this is something that has actually affected us, the youth, and that is why we are here, to reflect on those 63 years and ask ourselves, are we really proud of the 63 years of independence? If then we are not proud, what should we do? We look at the different regimes that have been in place in Uganda. We had the Obote 1 and Obote 2 regime that was 1962 to 1971 and 1980 to 1985 respectively. We saw how human rights were violated back then. Kingdoms were abolished, and these are things that actually affected the youth. Yes, now in the modern society, the story could be different, but we still have so much to do. We look at the Idi Amin regime in 1971 to 1979. This was the darkest regime Uganda has ever had. We look at so many violations that happened, the expulsion of the Ugandan Asians that were forced to go back to their country, denying them a right to property. We saw so many killings that happened, the killing of Benedicto Chwanuka, the Chief Justice, that happened on 21st of September 1972. Now, in the NRM government, where all of us, I believe, were born, I'm not seeing someone born before that. We appreciate the gains, in quotes, we appreciate the gains that were brought by the NRM government, and we want still appreciate for the establishment of stability and the 1995 Constitution, which came with a strong Bill of Rights. However, in the recent decades, we have seen significant backsliding, especially on the civil and political freedoms. And these are things that have gone ahead to affect the currently 75% of Uganda's population, where me and you, I believe, belong. We are not happy as the youth, and there is so much we aspire to have. There is so much we aspire to see. Now, on a topic like this where the youth have to speak, I can see we don't even have 5% of the audience that we always have. And this is a concern of 75% of the population of the country, meaning the youth, we have not been heard as we should be heard. Now, the aspirations, some of the aspirations we have, one, we have guaranteed rule of law and justice to end the impunity. We need a society, we need a Uganda where the judiciary is freely independent, where we see security forces are actually accountable for their actions. I want us to look at an example that happened, I think a week ago, where 29 NUP foot soldiers, as they call themselves, were arrested as they head in Bujuko as one of the aspirants, the presidential aspirant, Bob Chagulanyi Sentam, was going to Mityana. And all these were the youth. And we are saying, why are we don't want to go political, but we are forced to go political. But we want a guaranteed rule of law and justice where all of us can actually choose to join, participate in any political sphere
that we are comfortable with, without fear of being detained, without fear of being harassed, without fear of being arrested unlawfully. We aspire to look at fundamental human rights like liberty, freedom of expression being respected. We also aspire to look at genuine democratic spaces and political participations where the system goes beyond just politics. The most known not youngest in this election, but one Katumba John was frustrated this time round not to contest as a presidential candidate. Why? We had so many stories that EC was claiming, but we need a collective support towards us, the youth. People like Katumba John, known as Katumba Oye, who would actually represent us, the youth, has now been denied a chance. He wasn't nominated, so that means this time round he will not appear on the ballot paper of the presidential candidates. We need collaborative actions to ensure that the youth are actually heard, that the youth are actually united. Now, I want to appreciate that we have organizations like the East African Students Association, the Youth Council that recently even concluded their elections. Those are things we want to see. Those are things we want support about. We want the government to come up and say, you as the youth, we are going to support you in this way. You as the youth, we are going to support you this way. Only then we shall be proud of the 63 years of independence Uganda has had. There are so many things that are hindering the youth. We look at the constitution that we have currently. It hasn't been translated in any other local language here in Uganda. Would want to have the constitution translated to maybe Luganda, Lusoga, so that all the youth, especially for those who have not gotten a chance to go to school, to higher levels of education, actually understand that this is what is provided in our laws. This is what we as the citizens of Uganda agree at, so that when we come up to speak, we come from a point of knowledge, we come from a point of education, we really understand what we are talking about. Stakeholders, the government, and all other people that are responsible, we call upon you to come and support the youth. Only then we shall be proud that Uganda has actually had independence, and in the 63 years it is reflected. It is being enjoyed by the youth. We are benefiting from it, and only then we shall be proud of our country. For God and my country, thank you for listening in.
A bigger round of applause for the president of the Cavendish University Rule of Law Club, Miss Ellen. Thank you so much for that inciting discussion and regarding the reflections and aspirations of the youth. We appreciate your appreciation of the detail. We want to thank you for raising very critical points. Of course, the reflections have to be identified, and that, of course, is a little bit of the history in which we have identified the different regimes, the order in council, and the different scenarios that were, of course, mostly violations. Like we said, we're already developments in different aspects, infrastructure and the rest, but the reflections were really not all rosy. And clearly, she's trying to show us that the youth have a bone to pick with the status quo. That does not take away anything from the NRM government, and maybe that's what put a smile on the council member representing Central, Mr. Alexander, who put a very beautiful smile when she alluded to the fact that all of us in the house are bonds of the 1986 NRM regime. That is a question yet to be answered. We want to use that opportunity to recognize the presence of Council Zanda Alexander, who is the council member in representation of the of the Central. Thank you so much for gracing the occasion. Thank you very much once again. You are a beacon of hope. As we see you, we know the council is in the house. We'd also want to thank you all that are joining us online. It is not to be taken lightly that you're here with us. There could be so many other things that you're doing, and you've opted to be with us. The Bill of Rights has been spoken into, and those are the questions that we want to ponder. Bill of Rights have been established and given opportunity to be spoken into, but the question for the youth is, have they recognized the full meaning of the Bill of Rights, which of course has so many freedoms that are non-derogable, like a fair hearing? We were speaking with her recently, and we spoke of a certain scenario of the Chambogo University Guild president that was being, I think, followed up for, is it indiscipline, and he was let go from the university, led a demonstration, and it was said to be unworthy. But of course, like we're saying, administration of justice is part of the rule of law, and as well she has spoken about the collaborative support and effort that is needed from the different organizations that affect students, like the East Africa Law Students Association, the Uganda Law Students Association, as well as the translation of the Constitution. We're not very certain that the Constitution hasn't been translated, but we shall hear from the next speakers. The Constitution has been said to have been translated, albeit it hasn't necessarily been translated into various languages, as well as being distributed to the whole or throughout the country, which of course leaves a lot to be desired. And we want to use the next opportunity to listen in to another discussant who is not any new to the Uganda Law Society. Like we said, the Uganda Law Society is very proud and passionate about the youth, because they are the anchor of the future, and it is with their support, effort, and participation, especially civically, that we shall build a better Uganda. We are going to listen in to the current president of the Law Students Association of East Africa that we just spoke about, who has served as the former president of Uganda Law Students Association, as well as the former president of Nkumba University Law School. And during his audacious tenure as president of Uganda Law Students Association, he lobbied 50 scholarships for youth to study law in Uganda. He established the first Ugandan Law Students Journal and magazine to foster research. Nkumba University Law School awarded him as the best law personality of the year 2023, and as the exceptional leader talents in the 20 years of the law school's existence, he organized the inaugural East Africa Law Students Moot in Arusha, Tanzania in 2024, as well as the inaugural East Africa Law Students Conference in Nairobi, Kenya. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like for you to join me as we welcome Mr. Gideon Mwanje, who is the president of the East Africa Law Students Association. Thank you so much.
I'll do what the Kenyans like saying, that I stand on already established protocol. But before I can proceed, we can have a moment of silence to recognize and put ourselves in grief of the passing of Baba Raila Odinga. May his soul rest in eternal peace. Ladies and gentlemen in the building, advocates, like I started by quoting the Kenyans, I'll also proceed by using the common expression they always use when they are referring to advocates. May peace be upon you. May costs be upon you. May fees be upon you, advocates. To the students in the building, thank you for coming up and seeing that we have a great discussion regarding a timely topic that is current and needs us to address it with concern. 63 years ago, our country got independence, which meant that were to govern ourselves in a manner in which we thought was right. Our forefathers who fought for independence were not actually old. Many of you who read the history, you know that His Excellency Milton Obote, when he joined the Uganda National Congress, he was just 25 years of age in 1956. And you also remember that when Uganda got independence, the first president, who was the Kabaka of Uganda, Sir Edward Mutesa, was just 38 years. It's not only in Uganda where youth took up arms and fought for independence, but also in our neighbors. In Tanzania, Julius Nyerere, who we hold in high regard, he was only 28 when he established the Tanganyika African National Union, commonly now referred to as Chama cha Mapinduzi. Remember that the youth are the people who are always on the front to see that things that are not working out are in order. Even when the late Ike Musaz established the first political party in Uganda, known as the Uganda National Congress, he used the youth. These are the youth that were on streets boycotting and rioting against the white man. So what we are doing today is not new. 63 years later, the question we ask ourselves as the youth, are we living up to the expectations of our forefathers, the people who fought for the independence of this country? It's a question I pose to each one of you who has come today and those that are watching us online. Let's be honest. Uganda's independence journey has been a journey faced by a lot of political tyrannies and breakdown, and overseeing what maybe the rule of law provides. For the youth, the history we need is a cautionary tale. We see a cycle of a fight for democracy. We see the erosion of institutions. We see that even the custodians who we believe should take on the mantle and administer rule of law or justice are shying away from the cause. The judgments, I no longer read from certain judges, because when you read a judgment, you can either tell whether the judge is incompetent or was manipulated. We know the rules. We know how courts should apply the law and facts. You read a judgment and wonder which law school did this judge go to. You wonder what type of judge this person is. And these are people who are given the obligation to see that they administer justice. You have heard of the offense of contempt of court, which I personally hold to be a common law offense. And its reasons that were put to it have lost meaning. Call it a civil wrong. People are extending its meaning to mean different things and handle personal issues. Is that what we call independence? You read the Constitution and even say it's a grand norm. Most of you in your classes, you quote articles and they call you brats. You know the Article of Independence of the Judiciary, 128. Wow, learning friend, you're a colleague. You're so intelligent. But are we just going to quote these articles as the youth and look on when rule of law is no longer existence in our in operation in our country? When I filed through the East African Law Students Association, I filed a suit against the Attorney General and the Uganda Law Council, the East African Court of Justice. The minority of my executive council was like, no, we shouldn't do this. How can you sue the Attorney General? How can you sue those bodies? They will look at us in a different way. I told them that this was a case that wasn't born out of antagonism. We had cooperated, wrote letters to these people, asked them to incorporate East African community law if you are to provide opportunities for students who wish to practice cross borders. But as the youth, we shouldn't shy away when these things are happening. You have a pen, you have a paper, write about these atrocities. When you're making research, be on the front and see that these things are put into consideration. Don't keep quiet. The president of the Uganda Law Society always tells us, don't be silent. Because in the end, like how Martin Luther King said, in the end, we shall not remember the words of our enemies, but the silence of our friends. Don't call me a friend when I'm facing persecution, you are quiet, because you think when you speak, you'll be persecuted. That's not the generation that we are hoping to be. That's not the generation our forefathers would wish to see us becoming. When I was growing up, the youth or our forefathers could listen to radios, news, but the youth of this generation, when you want them, go to the bar, they are there. When you want them, go to the amusement places. You won't find them discussing a topic that's about governance, the status quo of the country. You won't find them discussing the rule of law in the country. You won't find them discussing who's the next president and what is the manifesto. You have heard of the GDP. Few of the youth know what even GDP means. Few of them actually listen or watch news when they see music, cinema, that's all. Are we going to build this country or this region when we are not minding about the existence of our country? Are we going to protect the independence of our country? If things that concern taking this country to the next level or region, we are paying deaf here. When you make a party here and call youth, trust me, the room will be full. You will even chase away some that, oh, we have the required number we need. Others go back. But organize a symposium. Organize something that is critical for bettering someone. You just plead and you have to tell them that food is there if you want to see them in attendance. So it's a challenge that I put to each one of you here, that let's try to be ambassadors. Let's not just keep on speaking these things here, but also do what we speak, or we preach what we speak. I'll also talk about challenges that we youth face in this current situation. The issue of unemployment has been tackled. It has become a song, actually not just a mere song, but a Kadongo Kam song, because it doesn't end. We keep on singing it. When you look at the census last year, you find out that 42% of youth aged 18 years to 24 are unemployed. And we are just looking as a country like, oh, 2042, oh, sorry to them. In USA, in August this same year, when they made their report, that was the Federal Bureau of St. Louis, it found out that 10% of the youth in USA were unemployed. And this was perturbing them. Here, that's not news. Even the countries that we are near to, our brothers from Kenya, their percentage is a bit low. 8% to 13%. And there's nothing that we are doing as a country to say that the youth will pride in the independence. So many youth in Uganda are credited to be entrepreneurs. They start up businesses, but not any of them can last for 3 years. They're frustrated not only by the taxes, but also the nurturing. People are not here to mentor us. There's a mentor who told me that, oh, Manje, you have decided to study law. You'll never sleep hungry. But is that the main point? Why someone should study law? We need to change the trajectory. That law is not about gaining money. It's a service. It's a cause for service. That's why we are called land friends. We can be anywhere. We can serve anywhere. So colleagues, as we reflect on that independence of Uganda, we shouldn't just reflect and jubilate that we are independent. There's a lot we need to do as a country. We need to open up with the neighbors, Kenya, Rwanda, Tanzania, and see that we can have these cross-border transactions, cross-border trade. Recently, when I was, maybe I'll be pardoned by the Uganda Law Society, you have, I can estimate about 6,000 to 7,000 lawyers. If you equate it to a population towards 50 million people in Uganda, you find that there's a deficit. But look at the countries. Tanzania is big, and there's so many opportunities that we can exploit as we go on, because you don't know where the future may take you. One day you wake up when you're in Kenya, one day you wake up when you're in Burundi. But if we haven't understood the aspects that can make us go there, the mentorship won't be able to succeed. So as a country, it's a call to the leaders. Let's not just hurry to sign things, but we should put into implementation. And planning is also key to this effect. I'll end by talking about the present in the context of adultism. I just want to applaud the Uganda Law Society for these platforms. We have been held in the dark as the youth. You watch TVs, when you find a panel discussion, so many the old that are discussing pertinent issues, yet it is us who they want to implement in the future. Some great man said that the old man declares war, but it is the youth that fight the war. So if you don't include us, inclusivity, we need to be included. Our voice needs to be heard. We have people who have great minds, the youth, who can change the trajectory, but because these spaces are limited to only adults who think we don't have intelligence, who think we are irresponsible. There's a ministry I want to mention, but I had taken a letter regarding some aspect, and the person in charge was telling me, how did you miss to copy this person? But you, the youth, you think you know from there, and then someone was putting up a fight. He was biased. I don't know why the adult may think we are taking up their spaces. No, that's not the case. They're there to correct us, but someone's not correcting you, is criticizing you. That's what we call adultism. The youth are here to stay. The future belongs to the youth. They should nurture us to see that we make it and build this country. For God and my country, may God bless East Africa.
This gentleman deserves a round of applause again. He's the president of the East Africa Law Students Association, and he's been very, very strong in his wording. We want to thank you very much. He has been a part of us. He's been a part of the journey. He has been associated with the Uganda Law Society. He is the beacon of hope. As he has said, the future belongs to the youth. And the old man is the one that declares war, whereas the youth are the ones that fight it. So it is about time that the youth come together, stand together, and fight for what he has shared very, very, very heartfully. He's speaking of inclusivity, which of course is what we're all looking for. The rule of law speaks into inclusivity, transparency, planning, implementation, and adulthood. He requires that we are given a voice to speak because we are boats. Did you get that one right? We are boats who know the law, and because of their leadership, we're able to reach out to students as well as the youth. And he has spoken about different individuals that we all look up to. The Obote 2 regime, the Obote 1 regime, the Mutesa regime, the Nyerere regime, all of them, of course, may their souls rest in eternal peace. And most recently, Baba, because he is an East African lawyer. We would like to thank you so much. The political tyranny that you've talked about has since stopped, and as far as war is concerned, but you can all be sure that we are fighting a war of ideology, we're fighting a war of unemployment, we're fighting a war of corruption, we're fighting a war of being isolated from that cake, because as human beings and as Ugandans, we also know that we are supposed to eat that cake, and that cake, be it political or otherwise, is supposed to be shared by everybody. And the youth who are able to speak are requesting, or not necessarily requesting, because at some time you'll need to demand, are demanding for a voice to be heard. That existence is going to be topped up with our next speaker, ladies and gentlemen, who joined us just as the precurrent speaker was taking the microphone, and is not any new to us because, like I said, the rule of law department at the Uganda Law Society is excited and also very happy with dealing with the youth, and we're not going to have any new person to us, but of course to the public, to those that are in the house, especially the youth that have joined us. We want to thank you for joining us. Thank you for receiving the clarion call and opening yourselves up to these discussions, because this is what is going to change us as a country, as a nation, as a continent, and as the world, because it is from such discussions that the great names that we keep speaking about began. So the time is now for the youth. It's about time. We are going to listen in to a third-year law student at Makerere University, who is the current president of the Makerere University Rule of Law Club School of Law. She is very passionate about the rule of law, women empowerment, and equity for all. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to request that you stand with me to welcome Miss Angel Annabelle Ashaba, who is the Rule of Law Club President, Makerere University. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Robert. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen.
Good afternoon to you.
Thank you so much for having me. Our theme today is 63 years of independence, reflections and aspirations of the youth. When I got this and I was told I had to say something about it, I thought to myself, is the independence we have now the one that the drafters thought we would have? On 9th October 1962, when there was jubilation in the streets of Kampala, the today that is now, was it what the youth then, the people then were hoping for? And so I decided to do my speech in a letter form. So stay with me for a second. I have two letters with me. I have one dated 1962 and one dated 2025. And if you will indulge me, I will make my presentation that way. 1962. To whom it may concern. It is supposed to be a quiet night, but the deafening noise outside my house begs to differ. There is so much dancing and excitement, and the excitement can almost be tasted. We have been told tomorrow is Independence Day, and while many don't understand what that means, I do. The white man is leaving. It is sad that this day has come after so long. No one was listening to us. Everyone wanted something different and for themselves alone. The chiefs said it was okay, that the white man knew best, that everything would be better and we would become a better society. But what man says it is okay when strangers come into his house uninvited and eat his food? Maybe the bicycles convinced them that servitude was better as long as you weren't walking. I envy you, you know. Because of tomorrow, you will not have masters, but leaders, your own kin. Everyone is saying that when the white man goes, we will have our land back, our freedom, our rights. It is not just us. Everyone in Africa is saying the same thing. I hear Ghana chased the white man, and it is doing very well. Everyone is happy. After very many years, our beloved Uganda will stand tall and proud. We will have the power to decide our own future. It will stem in the unyielding will of the people, not etched by foreign decree made by people who have never been to our land, people who do not know us. Our law will serve to safeguard our sacred culture and time-honored traditions that the white man has suppressed. It will extend the mantle of protection to every soul in the grand republic of equality. There shall be no second-hand citizen. No one will claim privilege by color or blood. We will be one. You are the fortunate witnesses to this miracle, blessed to walk the earth in times when the meek inherit its boundless promise. I will wear my favorite kanzu tomorrow because we must celebrate getting Uganda back. Tell me, is it beautiful? Did our vision unfold? Did it surpass our dreams? Is it everything we hoped it would be? Oh, what I would give to see the Uganda I am hoping for. (2025) To whom it may concern. I was very happy to find your letter. It was beautiful seeing Uganda through a different lens. I find myself compelled to write back, to say something, and I am sorry in advance. You might not like what I have to say. Everything went wrong from the very beginning. From the start, everyone wanted something different. We all had different priorities. The chiefs wanted to keep their power. The masses weren't entirely sure what was happening. And the intellectuals, the land people, well, they wanted to test power. They wanted to assume the reins of the new state and believed they had the knowledge and the skills to create the structures necessary for national progress. National progress. I wouldn't know where to start explaining this concept to you. It means so many different things to different people. One would argue it has lost its meaning. Do you recall that at all the speeches, people expressed their expectations of independence in abstract terms and were much clearer about what they wanted to end than what they wanted to put in its place? We wanted the white man gone. We wanted freedom. We wanted dignity. You remember these phrases? That's the point when we all clapped. Beyond that, we had no clue what we were striving for, what we were fighting for. Economic development was mentioned at some point, but well-being and national progress came first. Again with that word, national progress. If we ever agree on what it means, I'll let you know. In my opinion, I think we liked what the word sounded like, how it felt, how it made us feel important, like we were a part of something bigger. the ululations and the praise and the celebrations, it made us blind to the fact that our independence was fragile. Hey, check if the Union Jack is still down and our colors are up. It is, sir. Well then, we are independent, aren't we? We took for granted the masses' willingness to accept our leadership and underestimated the problem of achieving national cohesion, dismissing the ethnicity that arose during the movement as mere ignorance. The absurd part, you'd think with all this foresight, we would have done something about it, that we would have tackled those problems now, that we would have addressed our differences. Turns out, we are content leaving our heads in the sand. Politics ceased to be a service. It became a profession, one that guaranteed fame and adventure and money, and the rousing speeches on freedom and development, well, they don't move us any longer. We haven't realized that commercialization of politics is a threat to our democracy quite yet. Maybe we will get there someday. You are right. Our leaders are our kin now, and they know how to speak our language. It is not the language you remember, though. This one is green. I am envious that you did not get to see your hopes shattered. It is sad, isn't it, that while you envy me, I envy you. The only difference is I envy you because you don't get to see it all come crashing down. I will say this. The Africa and the Uganda we have today is very different from the one you remember. You might not recognize it, even though you waited for it and looked for it and searched for it. We are at war with ourselves. At least then, we had a villain to point at, someone to point the blame at, the white man. He's the reason we don't have peace, the reason we don't have rights, the reason we are suffering. Today that finger is pointed at us, and we put it there. We gave up our history, and we wear white culture like a fast skin, and shed ourselves like a plague we cannot wait to get rid of. We caged ourselves with our decisions, our greed, our compliance, our desire to be anything but Ugandan, anything but African. We are not the Uganda you remember from 1962. But we could be. We just need to remember. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that English. It has been a tale that has been both somber and yet reflective, if you can bear with me. The first letter was supposed to be beautiful. It was supposed to speak into hope, future, glory, life, love. It was like a love letter. Were you writing to us a love letter? Okay, if not, we shall continue. The second letter is something that leaves a lot to be desired. Something that we all want to look back into and wonder whether, even when we're not youth, the youth who are following us are safe, for lack of a better word. So yes, you speak so much of the different priorities. You speak of the lost hope, the lost expectations, the anxiety, the national progress that you say has never been defined. I don't know if we can use this opportunity to define national progress, because we are always reminded by some leaders, the first statement being in 1986. Who can relate? Is there anyone who can relate? In 1986 is always the first statement that is meant to start a conversation. The frugality of the independence that we keep bragging about. Are we in the right place to brag about the independence? Can the youth brag about the independence? The foundation laid. Are you proud of the foundation that was laid? We are here to ask these questions. We might not necessarily have the answers now, but we are speaking to over 500 to 1,000 people watching us online and speaking to these gallant students who are in here with us. And that is exactly what we are doing as the Uganda Law Society. Thank you so much, Angel, for working with us. You have triggered the brain. You have let questions be asked, because after this session of the presentations, we're going to be having questions to these same speakers. And I'm sure the youth, we ask that you share widely with your colleagues, and we hope the questions will be flowing in, especially from those that are online, but of course as well for those that are in the house. It's okay to be heard. It's okay to ask a question. It is okay to be corrected, not criticized. Is that what Mr. Mwanje was saying? We shall critique the difference between those two words and wonder if correction is the same as criticism. Would like to add to that discussion. Thank you once again, Angel. You've done so well. May God bless you. Would like to add to that discussion and require that we hear from a very, very distinguished individual in the hierarchy of students' leadership that has been a part of our journey as well. Like we said, we're at a juncture where we are recognizing student leaders that are identifying with the cause that the adults or the elders are fighting for. And we're also imagining, isn't this the time to pass on the baton? The youth, are they ready for the baton to be passed on? And this is how we're trying to interact with the youth and call them upon to stand together with those that are able to come out and speak, like this very gallant table of distinguished guests. Our next speaker has served in various leadership positions, because that is what we're trying to do. Identify with those that are able to get up and speak. One of the positions that he has held is a delegate to the East African Youth Parliament. You're going to hear about a youth parliament and juxtapose it with the current parliament that we are listening from and experiencing every now and then. We've had very deplorable situations about the parliament that we should not be very shy to speak about. We've been here speaking about whether you should speak or rather keep quiet, but I think it's always better, as the president of the Uganda Law Society says, be a damn good citizen. Speak out and be heard. You've been given the platform in the 1995 Constitution, the Bill of Rights, freedom of expression and speech. What are you using it for? Speak. And of course, there is not going to be a rosy, journey towards independence, ultimate independence, but we are supposed to speak. He, after that, was as well a member of the Youth Alternative Dispute Resolution Forum, as well as the vice president of the Launchpad Debate Club at Uganda Christian University. He is also a third-year law student at Uganda Christian University main campus, and is currently, as we speak, the speaker of the 8th Central Youth Regional Parliament. He's very passionate about leadership and youth affairs, and it's in this regard that I would like to take the singular honor to request members in the House to welcome with me Mr. Derek Kakoza, who is the Speaker of the Central Youth Regional Parliament. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for this opportunity. Once again, my name is Kakoza Derek, the Speaker of the Central Youth Parliament. I'm glad to be here, and I'm very, very happy that we have a council member for the Central Region, and I'm the Speaker of the Youth in the Central Region. Thank you so much. Yes, I would like to take this opportunity to thank the Uganda Law Society for organizing such a powerful panel discussion on the 63 years of independence of Uganda. From where I come from, that is the Youth Parliament, yes, we agree that yes, we attained independence. But I would like to borrow the words of one of our forefathers of the African continent as far as independence is concerned, that is Kwame Nkrumah. Of course, in one of his last books, when that is the last stage of imperialism, of course, when he made a number of statements as far as independence is concerned, of course, he asked us a lot of questions saying that, yes, we agree the fact that Africa is now attaining independence from the Copper Belt to the east, to the south, to the north, and maybe to the central. But however, are we really attaining the practical way or the practical independent it must be? Or the imperialists or the colonialists are giving us independence at the front door and taking it away from the behind door? Then who are the people to blame? Should we blame ourselves? Should we blame our leaders? If yes, maybe. If no, my guess is as good as yours. But then the question is, the 63 years of independence of Uganda, aspirations and reflections of the youth. I would start by saying that yes, Uganda, legally, politically, socially, economically, we are independent. But then, in the practical manner, just like what Kwame Nkrumah stated, is Uganda really independent? Then the question is, what is independence? Of course, independence is a broader word that has got a number of components, from the political side, from the social side, the economic side, etc. But then the question, once again, is, are we politically independent? Are we economically independent? Then, are we socially independent? Of course, Uganda's, since 1962, of course, between the year 1961 to 1962, of course, one of our educated Ugandans back then, people like Dr. Milton Obote, people like the Ibinglers of this world, of course, they held a meeting in Lancaster. What was the intention of this meeting? The intention of this meeting, it was actually to make a transition from colonial rule to self-rule of Uganda. And of course, in this, we had a paper, a document, which was drafted to act as our legal order as Uganda. And of course, we adopted it in 1962. It acted as our legal order, our first constitution from the UK. In 1963, we held the first elections. We had our first president. That was the Kabaka of Uganda, Mutesa II, who became our president. But of course, when you read different books, they say he was the ceremonial leader of Uganda. Away from that, of course, the history of Uganda has been defined by coups, atrocities, issues concerning violation of fundamental human rights, dependency on foreign aid and all that. But the essence or the epinage of the independence of Africa and Uganda in particular was to actually to have independent institutions, independent government agencies and government departments. But then the question is, I'll ask a lot of questions, I'm sorry. The question is, are those departments and institutions really independent? Then where is the problem? Of course, in 1995, we jubilated after having, of course, the current constitution of Uganda of 1995 as amended. Of course, it's a very, very elaborate document, which of course gives us a guide of how best Uganda should be ruled, both combining the three arms of government. That's the judiciary, the executive, and then the legislature. Of course, a constitution is not just a mere constitution, as per the words of the former justice of the Court of Appeal, that is Justice Kakulu. In the case of that is Malema Bilis and another versus the AG in 2017. It's a document that gives us, that leverages a way between our past and our present. That means that in our different legal orders, we must be able to embody our past with our present in order to move forward as a nation. Back to the topic, we are now 60 years old as Uganda, away from colonialism. But then, have we benefited from the fruits of independence? Maybe we don't know the fruits of independence. Maybe someone now, because of the politics now, can say, as long as I get what to eat, that's all. But then, it's beyond just having what to eat. But then where did the problem come in? Of course, politics took over. And I believe that one of the things that this current government has done is to kill the spirits of Ugandans. In that, even as the youth here, we cannot imitate what Kenyan youth are doing. But does that mean that we are weak as youth? Does that mean that we are civically ignorant as the youth? No, not at all. But where is the problem? Maybe the education system. They have killed civic spaces. Maybe we as the youth need at least to have maybe a better way of how to call for space and to call for our attention from the forefathers of this country. Of course, when we talk about independence, I'll talk about it in three ways: politically, socially, and economically. Politically, we know one of the people who are aspiring for the presidential seat, I don't know his name, he uses a number of terminologies. He said that we're in a political wahaha. So, Uganda politically, can we say that we are actually independent? Yes, if at all we are saying independent. Of course, we all hate in the gaze of democracy that we go before the ballot, we vote for our leaders. But actually, do our aspirations or our vote really count as Ugandans? Maybe yes, maybe no. My guess is as good as yours. But as Ugandans, as the youth of this nation, of course, we have our own aspirations as the youth. One, governance, inclusivity. We need to be included in governance. Of course, one of the first speakers talked about Katumba Oye, of course, being denied a chance. I would like to add a voice on the same. Why would a presidential candidate give in 20 million to stand as a president? Does that mean that politics is now for the rich? Does that mean that politics is now for the developed? Away from that, let's talk about the first, one of our arms of government, the legislature. What we saw, as the youth, what can we do? What's the most appropriate way of how we can seek accountability as far as politics is concerned? Of course, as I stated, the will of the people should always prevail in everything. That's why our forefathers in 1962 jubilated, raised the flag, lowered the Union Jack in celebration of independence as Uganda. They were happy that the whites were leaving. But then, did the whites even leave? Of course, they juxtaposed into another form, now in policies, SDGs, SAPs, etc., to act as actually, maybe they left, but now they are creating relationships with Ugandans. But should we blame the whites or raise? Then what are our leaders doing as far as emulating the independence that was fought so hard by the first people in 1962? The journeys they took to go to UK, the journeys they took to visit different countries, the journeys they took to go to Tanganyika by then, to try and seek assistance to attain self-rule. Are we really doing the best? If at all one of our forefathers could come back now, what would he say? How would he view Uganda? Is it independent or not independent? Of course, most of these people were youth, just like us, and they fought tooth and nail to attain this self-rule. If at all would bring, for example, Benedicto Chwanka, and he comes and sees what actually is happening in the judiciary, would we still be celebrating? Will he allow us to celebrate his day? I doubt. He will say, you guys know what? I don't want you to celebrate my day yet again. Meaning that we've missed a step as far as our independence is concerned, because we must enjoy the fruits of independence. But then as the youth, of course, from the human rights perspective, that is sour. You know, we're not even aware of how we shall reach our destinations after here. They can just pick you, take you, you know. You seek, we say free Letitia, free Mbaje, free, but nothing. You get, is that different from way back? Someone can say maybe it was better. Maybe the whites wanted economic prosperity. They wanted minerals. They wanted what? Maybe the issue of slavery. But then, if at all it's not slavery, what are we seeing now? Of course we have trafficking of individuals and all that. But the fellow Ugandans, not even the whites. So we cannot blame the whites now. It's us as the leaders. And of course the ULS has got also its own vision. Of course, seeing ahead how best we can move the different organs of government. The executive, I can't talk about it because I've never seen a new government since I was born, probably even my mom and dad. What does that mean? Does that mean that actually we cannot have better institutions and better self-rule as a country, Uganda? I end this by saying that yes, as the youth, we have a role to play. At least we may not take the route of the Gen Z in Kenya, but we have other avenues that we can do that in order to seek accountability, in order to force our leaders to imitate the fruits of independence. And how best can we push that? Maybe we can use different avenues, like how here we speak, because if you don't speak, the person who is a patriot of the different atrocities in Uganda will still continue doing the same thing. I will end by saying that actually, yes, we are independent. Of course, we attained independence in books. And of course, it's written that Uganda is independent and is a sovereign nation. But however, practically, is Uganda really independent? Thank you so much.
A big round of applause for the Speaker of the Central Youth Regional Parliament. Practically, is Uganda really independent, or is it just written in the books that Uganda is independent? A very, very big question that needs to be answered by both the youth and the general public, and also for the precurrent speaker to appreciate. We are also young men and women. I don't know about your parents. I know you haven't seen another government. We also haven't seen another government. Don't make us look like dinosaurs. Yeah, but it's also good to have those light moments, because in any case, come on, it's 40 years of the same ruling government. And yes, we have recognized the number of developments, but the constitution that we are saying is the grand norm that is defining our freedoms and speaking to our lives speaks otherwise, only until recently when it was amended, which some of the things that we are speaking about, the independence. Is the judiciary independent? Is the parliament independent? Is the executive independent? Are the three arms of government seen to be independent, as is envisaged in the Constitution? So thank you so much for your very, very critical thoughts, especially in regard to identifying with how the laws are made and how you operate in that parliament, and how, of course, you have identified by looking into the fruits of independence, which of course is really not very easy to identify right now. But I think we began with appreciating the fact that there is independence, there is peace, and there is, a certain kind of semblance of being alive. But the question we want to ask, the very critical question, the underlying question is that all that speaks to the youth's aspirations? The youth's aspirations, as you have identified, is governance and inclusivity. You want to see that the youth are critically added to the civic space, and that cannot be gotten by the youth only as leaders, but also by the 75% of the population. And we don't want to act like we shouldn't be telling the government, because it is our role to speak of our grievances. It is also our role to stand with the oppressed, because remember, we are 75%. Have we missed a step? You kept asking us questions. We ask you the same in your parliament. Have you missed any step? I don't know. You will have to answer some of those questions, because there are questions that are flowing in. We're about to get into the next phase of activity, question and answer. But before we get to that, we were graced with the presence of our next speaker, who earlier on intimated reason for coming rather later than we had started, and we took it in stride and received the apology. But right now, as we speak, we are going to be listening to the current president of Law Society at IUIU main campus in Mbale. He is also the director and projector at Light Schools Kapchorwa and the Uganda Now Outreach. He has also served as the chairperson of the Youth League Kapchorwa district, and is a fourth-year student of law at Islamic University in Uganda at the main campus. He also holds a bachelor's degree in theology from Baptist Seminary and a diploma in education. We are going to be listening to the current President of Uganda Law Students Association. Ladies and gentlemen, with me, please welcome Mr. Chemtai Leonard, who is the President of Uganda Law Students Association, to speak to us. Thank you so much.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. As earlier on introduced, my name is Chemtai Leonard. Many people call me Chem Leo. Chem Leo is my political name, and it's the name that is most known by everybody. I am sorry for coming late, but my reasons were justified. But allow me go direct to what I was given to discuss. My submission is going to be basically political, of course, without forgetting that I am a student of law, and I hold the issue of rule of law very highly. And because of that, I am happy that you guys have spared the time and we will be able to discuss. The question I was given to discuss here was the 63 years of Uganda's independence. It is reflections and aspirations as for the youth. First, I want to submit that it is important for everyone to understand where they are coming from, where they are, and where they intend to go. Law and politics can never be separated because they do exist, or they are coexistent. I was not born 63 years ago. Of course, you all know that. Oh, thank you. This one is better now. Okay. So 63 years ago, Uganda got its independence from those who took over them. From 1894, when you read history, they say the people who came and took over Uganda came around 1894, and since then there has been a lot of challenges within those native people who existed at that time. But today, we have come from very far, and it's just important for all of us to appreciate that we are somewhere. But the question I always kept asking, even in my status at some time, I always ask, if we say that we are independent, so what is the essence and to what extent are we independent? Of course, it is a personal issue. Every one of us here claims to be independent. You are independent from your parents at some point. You could be independent from those who have direct influence on you. But the question here talks about the nation and its people. So 63 years of Uganda's independence, is it really something that is substantive? Can we really say that we are independent in a sense? But I want to believe that to some extent we have an idea of independence. But to me as an individual, there are marks that I see as independence. One, we know that in the mid-20th century, this country was under a certain kind of protectorate. Of course, we got our self-internal governance in 1961. In fact, because I love politics and I talked to a number of people, I realized that my own district got independence earlier than Uganda getting independence. And I was so proud because I want to attach my forefathers to have been the best people who fought for independence, even before all Ugandans felt like we were independent. We see that in 1955, there was an Rnblive agreement that was signed. After the signing of that agreement, you saw a number of things coming into play. We saw the first chief minister, we saw the next chief minister, and I was very interested recently, Dr. Apollo Milton Obote may his soul rest in peace, the President Emeritus of Uganda, was celebrating 20 years of what? 20 years of his passing away. Now, the 20 years between when he left and between when he left power in 1985, and these are the fathers of our independence. Did he really die seeing Uganda independent? Certainly not. Even the next president who is here now will not be able to see Uganda independent in a way. So it is just by names, but I don't believe we are independent. And the reason is us. The reason is us. If you love following other diaspora things, you see that the youth in Uganda are cowards, including myself. If today we went for a Gen Z rally, none of you will go there. I bet you. That's why I hold esteem so much those guys who are trying to push something to do with independence and democracy today. With him dying 20 years ago, we've got independence. Before he died, that is around 43 years ago, we were independent, but there has been a lot of issues. But the reflections that you need to take is, to some extent, we can say we have economic freedom, but you have to test that also. To what extent are we economically free or independent? Secondly, good governance. We claim good governance. What are the parameters of a good governance? Yes, we may have, but as youth, do you really feel that we have good governance? Of course, everyone has their own way of interpreting governance, good governance, especially when you're coming from a family that is attached to some kind of, you will say we are independent, we have good governance. But it is a mindset issue that we need to work on. Another issue that we need to reflect on as we celebrated this event 1 week ago, yeah? We are just 1 week old in the 63 years. Now, another issue that we need to be asking ourselves is education and then skills. Are we really independent? Do we have these education and development skills? The issue is yes, but to what extent do we percentage this? Another issue is technology and innovation. You can see when you reflect on technology and innovation, it is true that the technology and innovation of those days and today, we are somewhere today. But when you look at other countries, there are people who are working very hard to make sure that technology and innovation is key in their areas. But when you look at Uganda today, everybody is struggling to do it technology at personal level. You have your phone, you keep learning, you do what? But other countries have taken it very serious. Take, for instance, is it Ethiopia or Egypt, where AI is now the leading causer of all the stuff that is happening in that country. So as youth, you should reflect on that as you read history. Another issue that I wanted to talk about is the aspirations. What do we as youth leaders or the youth of today aspire for? You realize that when you reflect on good governance, the youth are not satisfied. They still yearn to get better governance in this country. When you look at the issue of economic freedom, the youth believe that yes, it is true, we have some kind of economic empowerment and stuff like that, like many people were registering to get PDM, Many of you guys were registering for PDM. I saw one of my friends living in Kampala to go to the village just to be a beneficiary of the PDM funds. That is a sign that we, the youth, do not even appreciate where we are today. And that means that we still aspire to get an economic independence. We are not independent. On the issue of innovation and entrepreneurship, yes, we appreciate what is happening now. But the truth is, what is happening now is not enough. It's not enough in a sense that we need players to come on board so that they are able to push and encourage these things from the lower levels, from the lower levels of engagement. Today, Parliament is not making even rules and regulations or even advancing such things that are so pertinent to the growing generation. And that is why I started my comments by saying, You guys, we are very coward. We are cowards. But there is a saying that cowards live long because they are supposed to show the children of the brave men where their graves were laid. That is the only reason why you live long as a coward. Because you need to tell the children of the brave men that your father, when he was doing ABCD, he was buried somewhere. But we need to raise up as youth. We need to know that there is a lot that goes on. We need to balance. I don't know, I was asking a question myself. When is the actual time that someone can be important to influence such and such activity? My answers were, and it is drawn on the question of luck. We have all this wisdom, all this knowledge, even seated in this house, and even those who are listening, but they have kept them. They have kept them to themselves, and they are doing nothing with it. So, if given a chance, I think we, in this new radical bar of students, I believe that the rule of law is something that is very important, something that all of you should take interest in. And not only taking interest, there are very many people who are silent observers nowadays. They look at what is happening anywhere and then they keep quiet with it. But if we are really to experience what we call independence, yes, if we are able to fight for what we aspire for, I think it begins now. It begins now, and each one of us should work very tirelessly. An idea doesn't die, by the way. I believe in those who spread ideas. There are those who do a lot of actions. Yes, it is okay, you can do a lot of actions, but you shall die, and those actions die. But those who sell ideas, they shall always live, because ideas live longer than people. And you know, people are eternal in the sense of the spiritual aspect. We believe that we are eternal. How? One of the aspects is what we do, yes, lives on with others. Like today, I like following Kenyan politics, maybe because I ascribe to Kenya most of the times. We lost the great guy, the father of democracy, not only in Kenya, but even in East Africa and Africa. He's going to be written in books. He has saved this country, he has saved many other places. I read history, and I realized that in 1981, 1986, around 1985, the fountain of honor of this country came and saved him when he was running away from this concept of lack of the rule of law in his own country. So Kenyans are mourning, East Africa is mourning, Africa is mourning. In the AU politics recently, he contested, and the whole African country was clapping. But then this is a guy, let me tell you, this is a guy who has fought. He has fought until his last day. He has never lived as a normal person. He has always lived as a person who is fighting this and this. So even as we reflect on Uganda's independence of 1962, now 63 years, which is older than all of us here, I do not know what will happen next, but I have an idea in my heart, and I believe one day this country will be economically independent. And I want to encourage the youth, those who are here and those ones who are somewhere. You need to raise up and take up these positions so that these ideas that you keep bringing here can be spoken in areas where you can make decisions and influence. But as long as we are very good at law schools, we are very smart, we are speaking, we go for leadership, we end there and we go, I'm telling you, these things will just be a recycle. But after this, we need to do something. That's why it's good for us to mentor others. I may not be able to go very far, but I believe when I help others, they can come and run further than us. I thank you very much for listening. I know my time was fast spent, but thank you very much for according me the opportunity.
A round of applause for the President, Uganda Law Students Association. He has crowned it up all. There wasn't a particular hierarchy in presentation, but of course we went by the availability of the individuals, especially those that requested that they be given a slot much after. And Mr. Chemtai has done justice to the discussion, and he has coupled a lot of what has been said before, also to make his own ideas count, because he He is passionate about spreading ideas because ideas never die. Thank you so much for reminding us and asking that same question, when can someone be important? And I think the answer lies therein, because as we speak now, whoever is in this room, whoever is listening online, and whoever is alive is important in his sphere of influence. And that is a candid reminder to posterity for purposes of living a life that you want to see getting better. What is the essence of our own independence? Does your being away from home, being at campus, necessarily make you independent? Is that the definition of your independence? And I wonder which page in the books of history Kapchorwa got independence before Uganda. We would like for you to bless us with that knowledge so that we're able to run with that close. Of course, we also know that Dr. Obote, may his soul rest in peace, died while in exile. It's not a very good story to tell about the fathers of independence, and we still remain to ask questions of that nature. I know the youths are cowards, but it's really the cowards who live longer. And Uganda cannot necessarily be like Kenya, because if you look at the social media, you'll see various acts by the Kenyans, the Kenyan youth. And that's something that we want to ask questions about. Can we rally ourselves behind the youth leaders that are able to rally us and take us to a next level? Those are the questions that are going to be asked. And you can also gather with me that today's discussion has had quite some good reflective questions. We've had historical reflections, we've had youth and identity reflections, we've had socio-economic realities, we've had governance and civic engagement questions. We've also had reflections on peace, unity, and democracy. And I think the most important for all is the aspirations, from which we have realized that the central and critical denominator is inclusivity. And that is what we want to ask into the next questions that are going to be forwarded to the different speakers, who of course are also notified that there is going to be a question and answer session very shortly for another 5 to 10 minutes. Each of you, I think, will have a question, and we shall want to use that opportunity to speak into the topic. There is a lady who left. She was a student. She requested that she leave. She was by the name Nabukenya Jennifer Chirabo. She asks a question and begins with a statement. I am of the view that enough has been said and done. With a regime characterized by arbitrary arrests and dictatorship, what more should be done? With ideas like democracy being a literal myth, what reality is left of this country's political future? Is it not better to be a bystander or leave the country anyway than die for a cause whose end is uncertain? I would want to pose that question to Mr. Chemtai. It's a question that I want. It is. Yeah. I'm going to ask it again. I'll read the statement, and maybe you can pick it up from there. I am of the view that enough has been said and done. With a regime characterized by arbitrary arrests and dictatorship, what more should be done? With ideas like democracy being a literal myth, what really is left of this country's political future? Is it not better to be a bystander or leave the country anyway than die for a cause whose end is uncertain? The coward in Mr. Chemtai is going to give that answer. Please. There's a microphone before you, if you don't mind activating it, either that other one or this one on your right. Is that one okay?
Yeah, this
Yeah,
one is okay.
please shoot.
So, our sister is not here. That's okay that you said she would be excused to go. But then the question is, enough is said and done. That is the opening phrase. And then she's talked about the regime, and she's characterized the regime. But what is more important to me is what more can be done. And then her closing aspect of saying, is it not just better to be a bystander? I think first and foremost, when we are tackling issues regarding humanity, we must avoid at all costs to bring up issues with emotions. Words matter. I'm not a materialist, but words matter. But what I would say is giving up is not a choice, especially when you still have life. Now, if I go back to the Bible, it says, there are those who listen, but there are those who do. But the most important thing is to be a listener and a doer. And before I even answer that question, the question should be, what have you done? As a leader, as a person posing that question, what effort have you put? What contributions have you made? First, I don't believe in giving up. Giving up is the last choice and option that a person takes. But the last thing that every human being should lose is hope. I wouldn't advise that even amidst all the inconsistencies that we see in the current regime, we should not give up. As leaders, we should not give up. And then also, we should try to do something. However little the contribution could be, but you be counted that you contributed, you did something in your time. Yeah? So what more is left is something that is personal, and we must take it as collective, and we can do something.
Thank you.
There is a lot left that has not been done. There is a lot done which we cannot recorrect, but we can always create avenues that speak well for the things that have not been done well. So for that instance, I would suggest to my sister and everyone who is here that we should not give up, we should not lose hope, but we should work hard to make sure that we create change.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for that answer. We take it in stride. The next question is for Mr. Mwanje. He is being asked by one Robert Kalenge. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for the questions. We're also going to take questions from inside the house if they are there. We want us to summarize this session because our time is a little fast spent. Mr. Mwanje, Robert asks, or he begins by saying, I am a law student and it is my first time hearing about the East African Law Students Association. What is the objective of this association and how is it helping law schools in Uganda? Could we please run through these questions if it's okay? The microphone before you is able to be activated. You could press that button over there. All right, thank you.
Thank you so much for that good question, Mr. Robert. The Law Students of East Africa was launched in 2023, and it was launched at Fairway Hotel with the support from the East African Law Society and the Uganda Law Society itself. It's a union of National Law Students Association, which is Uganda Law Students Association. I'm happy the president is here. It is also composed of the Law Students Association of Kenya. That is the National Association of Law Students in Kenya. It's composed of the Rwanda Law Students Forum, and last month I was in Rwanda. We were launching the first journal of the association. It's composed of the Tanzania Bar Students Association and also the Tanzania Law Students Association. The core objective of this association is to unite law students in East Africa to mirror the older or the bar association of the East African Law Society. We are just a mirror of the young version of the East African Law Society, and I've held this position since last year. I'll be handing over next month in Ethiopia, Addis Ababa, and we have done a lot as far as advocacy is concerned with the policies. For example, we frontlined the ongoing case in the East African Court of Justice against the bodies that the Attorney General, Uganda Law Society, and the Secretary General of East Africa regarding the incorporation of East African community law in the curricula. We mentor law students. We have various series, and we have a WhatsApp group We have actually 2 WhatsApp groups because the first one is already full, and we always bring various individuals that help us. The BAP presidents of various countries are with us, and they always mentor and speak to us. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mwanje. I know students are out there very inquisitive about how to access you. We just want to say at the Uganda Law Society, we have contacts for these students.
Just a moment. You can search about Law Students of East Africa on Google. There's a website, and it will show you. You may not subscribe as an association, like this particular association, but also there are dockets of individual subscription, and the details will be seen there at the website. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that answer. Very, very elaborative. The next question is from one Janet Kasumba for Miss Ellen. She asks, or she begins with a statement, "I love seeing women in leadership positions. Thank you for your leadership at Cavendish. My question is, do you think we have achieved gender equality in Uganda, especially in regards to youth leadership? If no, what can we do to better achieve this?" Is that clear? Kindly proceed. Thank you.
You're welcome. She has thanked me for the leadership at Cavendish. So yes, Uganda has made progress in promoting gender equality. However, so much work needs to be done. As per Feb 2024, statistics show that 33.9% seats in parliament were occupied by actually females. So that means we have a percentage of around 66.1% left for men. However, challenges still persist. Challenges like limited access to education, unemployment, healthcare opportunities, all these help in gender equality. However, to better achieve the gender equality, youth in Uganda, basically, we need mentorship programs. And on that, I would want to thank Dr. Joyce Nalunga, the President Female Lawyers Network. She has mentored so many girls, young girls, even boys, but basically and mainly ladies. And to better up leadership, gender equality in youth and leadership, we need civic education. Basically, awareness about the rights of women, girls, and proper participation in decision making. And we need inclusive policies that will encourage ladies, young girls, to come up and address issues that actually concern them, things like child marriages, female genital mutilation, and equal pay. So we also thank the organizations that have actually come up to support the girl child to ensure gender equality, like the Female Lawyers Network, Women Pro Bono Initiative, we have Women in Leadership. So yes, so much work is being done to ensure that girl child is actually up there in the space. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Ellen, for that answer, which of course a little is elaborative. The next question is from Tracy T. Tracy T is asking a question unto Angel. She sends emojis of a hand clap and says the juxtapositioning and poetic analysis of pre and post-independence was thought-provoking. As the youth, what can we do, in brackets, individually and jointly, to ensure that in the next 63 years, we are celebrating a better Uganda? Is that clear, ma'am? Please proceed.
Thank you so much for the question. Show up. The Uganda you want to see in 63 years, you have a chance to be a part of it, to make a difference, to say something. Every time oppression is possible because enough people kept quiet. So if you want to see a Uganda in 63 years that speaks to you, that you are proud of, show up for that Uganda. Do not expect someone to do your part everyone has a role to play, and as youth, the biggest thing we can do right now, take up the spaces, say something, and more importantly, show up. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Is it also true that the youth are still cowards? So showing up will also be a question that we shall answer later. Thank you so much for that answer, Madam. Angel Odongo Julius asks a question of Mr. Kakoza, and he begins with the statement as usual. You hinted on the Gen Z protests in Kenya. What is wrong with the Gen Z in Uganda? We keep complaining about bad leadership, but we never do anything about it. As youth leaders, you should be at the forefront leading us, but we don't see you anywhere. Very indicting question. Must I repeat it? Did you get it clear?
Yes, please.
Please proceed.
I feel like there's a very big difference between the Gen Z of Kenya and the Gen Z of Uganda. First and foremost, it first depends on the circumstances as far as the political, the economic, and the social circumstances between the two countries. But particularly now, the political situation in Uganda and the political situation in Kenya, we can see that a little bit, Kenya is above us as far as civic awareness is concerned. And it goes back to the leaders. Maybe our leadership is not impressed with the way the youth maybe will turn up as far as resistance is concerned. Of course, the ruling party, their party is called National Resistance Movement. So they will always work so hard not to get the same resistance from the masses. But then for Kenya, for them, at least their leadership, it's all a point of leadership. The leadership in Kenya and the leadership in Uganda. The leadership in Uganda is way different from that of Kenya. We know that. Should I say that? Let me say that. I'm at the Uganda Law Society.
Thank you.
So
you're protected.
Exactly. So meaning that if, for example, if at all I raise up now and I go on the streets, maybe Akasha Avenue or the Constitutional Square, and maybe I air up my issue as far as governance is concerned, the reaction from the state may be severe. And then if you do that, even your loved ones will ask you, DK, are you mad? Because they know the repercussions of that. But then in Kenya, their leadership from President Ruto and even the forefathers of the country, they've been so calm and, of course, accepted such reactions because, of course, that's where their history, for example, has always emanated from. For me, I think it's an issue of leadership, taking in positive criticism.
Thank you. Thank you so much. That was a good answer. Really, what I'm seeing you speaking into is mindset change. It's about time that the youth change their mind about the leadership and the country that they want to see. Do we have any questions in the house, please? Kindly. There's a microphone. I would like to request, you can come to the fourth, it's okay? Just make your question very short. If it's possible, identify yourself and drop your question. And then we can see if we can get an answer within the next few minutes. Please, feel free. Thank you so much. Is it activated? All right, there.
Yeah, thank you so much.
You're welcome, please.
My name is Moinza Joshua.
Yes,
I'm
Joshua.
a law student from Kampala International University.
Yes, Joshua.
I also happen to be actively involved in politics. I'm currently running for district councillor at Katikam Sub-County, Luaro District.
Hey.
Well, I want to thank our speakers today in the House. I have a question. My question is, what practical steps can youth take to influence national decision-making beyond social media activism? Why am I asking this question? Because our speaker, Derek Kakoza, hinted on what we have seen all around the country where politics has been commercialized. And as we young leaders, we may want to take up these positions and maybe be somewhere where we are part of the decision making. But if you don't have the money as youth, we've heard from Gideon saying that 40% of youths between 18 and 25 years are unemployed, meaning you don't have enough resources to enable you run for these political offices. So what steps can we take as youth in order to see that you happen to actually take up these positions in order to be part of the decision-making process? Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. That question is not to anyone particular. I just want to ask you to take a minute or write that down, and we take another from the gentleman, kindly.
Thank you so much.
You're most welcome.
My name is Mike Ndiwalana. I'm from the Mighty Nkumba University Law Society, and I happen to be the Minister of Information in the 20th government.
Yes, Mike. Thank you.
Before I give my question, I want first to thank the President of Uganda Law Society. Yesterday we celebrated 20 years as Nkumba University Law Society, where we hosted the senior member of the bench, that is the Honorable Right Chief Justice Alfonso Chagamoy Owenyidolo. And he happened to honor our invitation. Thank you so much. I have a question, and I'll derive the question from what the Chief Justice said yesterday.
Yes.
There's a difference between lawyers and other professions.
Okay.
Other professions are educated, and for us, we are learned. Now, Mr. Kakoza here said that you fear your parents to tell you that you are mad. I'm glad to inform you that your parent is educated and you are learned. So, in this case, what am I trying to say? That society is expecting lawyers to be flexible, and we should always have solutions to problems that are facing them, like the society. And this will go to Miss Ellen. I think the solution to most of the problems is that we should make sure that our law schools delve so much into the things of clubs like rule of law. Where I come from, we have rule of law, but it is not as sounding as maybe other universities. I don't know why, but it is there. But if students are involved in such activities like being in clubs, rule of law, that we know that, so advocating for such things will be very easy, because in Kenya, they have political tolerance that is limited in Uganda. So, but then as lawyers, we should find ways that, okay, if you have political intolerance in Uganda, what should we do as lawyers? What should we do? So we must do this as a collective. As if all law schools in Uganda were here, for instance, how many are here? So we lack that bit of, cohesiveness as what? As law schools. That if we have that one voice, someone tweets something about human rights being violated. How many people react to tweets? How many people write about such things? But we step aside, as someone said, we are bystanders, and we leave things happen. So that's how we are being, treated in society. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Mike, for that question. Congratulations to Nkumba School of Law upon that milestone. Yes, please.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
My name is Kawe Yusuf. I'm the Attorney General, Law Society, Kampala International University. So my question goes to the President Angel. After citing the two letters, my question would be, what advice would you give to these young people or the youth who feel disillusioned about the country's direction? Thank you so much.
All right, thank you so much. Here we go. You have a question? Okay, one more question, and then we shall run through the microphone for each of those speakers. Over there, please approach.
My question should be for all of them.
Please be standing. Identify yourself as well, please.
Okay, I am Maudrine, and I have a question for each and every one of them, but I'm going to give it like direction. I'm first directing it to Mwanje. we've had a discussion before we had a conference where we had discussions. Like, we continue having discussions as a people, but we never have an action plan. So even here we are discussing that as the youth we are disillusioned and whatever we're saying, but okay, we've identified the fact that we are not okay. What next? Like, it should not end with conversation, because we can go and do this in our rooms. Like, people have conversation in their small sections, like everywhere there is a conversation happening. But we need to stand up and do something about this. We talked about cross-border practice in the conference I'm talking about, but these are things we talk about and we say, okay, we need to work on this, but nothing ever happens. So now, as we've spoken about the fact that yes, we are disillusioned youth and we need to do something about Uganda's independence, yes, we need to be a better and see a better Uganda for our children, if not our children, our children's children. Like, at least in the next 60 years, something should happen. So what do you guys think should be our action plan? Or is this another conversation we are having to see that, yes, we are disillusioned?
Thank you so much. That's a very intriguing question, I think, for everybody. I'd like to request that, I would like to guide that each of you just get a microphone for 30 seconds. Try to hit back on those questions that have been asked without any isolation, because it's inclusivity, right? And I hope everybody had the questions. Thank you. I hope that's okay, my friends. And those that are online, of course, those questions were answered specifically because they came from specific to specific individuals. So kindly yield. Thank you.
Thank you, Robert, and thank you for asking questions. Well, one is, what can we do apart from the social media activism? Truth is, you and me have power to do something. If you're saying the regime is bad, what have we done about it? One, do you have a national ID? Do you know when they're going to vote? Do you know where you vote from? Because that is how best we are going to exercise our rights. If I and you go ahead and exercise our rights, we go ahead and vote for a president we think will actually hear us, that a president we think will come with better policies, then trust me, something can be done. But it starts with me and you. Again, go ahead and follow that suit. Every time you see that there's something that is, most of us here are law students, we know how to do this. We can see guidance from our lecturers, our friends, our seniors. Follow that suit. I'm sure you'll be heard. A decision will be made, a judgment will be made, and trust me, to make an impact. Yes, it might make an impact on one or two people, but at least as an individual, you have come up, you have done something. Then I'm a Christian myself. Pray for this country. Pray for our leaders, pray for yourself. The one thing about us is we forget mental independence. We're talking, the government has not done this has not been done, but you as an individual, what have you done to prove that actually I'm independent, and this is what I want in a country where independence is exercised? Something to do with corruption. If you can go ahead and give that security guy 2,000 to allow you enter a certain building at a wrong time, you need to do better, because someone who is taking an amount of 100 M is nowhere better than you giving someone 2,000. So you can go ahead and report that, you know what, I was in such and such a place, and this is the amount of money that was asked from me. It's unlawful. Speak up, speak up, speak up. Only then you'll have the independence you want. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Please, Mr. Mwanje, proceed shortly, kindly.
All right, about cross-border practice, we are not just saying it. Like I told you earlier, we filed a case, and recently Attorney General wrote back to me. He was telling me to withdraw the case, the matter, since under the minimum standards that are being tabled and before the Law Council, with the support of the National Council for Higher Education, East African Community Law will be compulsory to all law schools in Uganda. So from there, that's when cross-border practice can be realized, because if you know something about laws in Kenya, laws in Uganda, it's easy for you to advise on those transactions. If you know about the East African Treaty, if you know about the protocols, its annexes, trust me, we shall be having the cross-border practice, not just a thing of just saying. Then about the take-home, I'll talk about law students, that you need to be the voice. You need to speak out, pick up your phone, write something, advocate for something. If I'm to ask some of you here, do you have presence online? If you just type your name, what comes? Yesterday I was speaking with New Vision and Observer regarding the independence, and you find out that most of the things that are being said in these papers and these are old people. So the youth, you need to have your voice heard, and you can do this through your social media handles.
Thank you.
Next,
so much.
seek mentorship. Seek mentorship. Mentorship will open doors for you. You'll network and get people who will make you better to be able to fit in those arena of adults. Corruption is a disease, you know that. Some of you call it network, yet it's corruption. For the Christians, say it's grace, yet it's corruption. So do away with corruption, and we shall have a right country.
All right.
May God
Thank you
bless.
so much. What an answer. Please proceed to the next.
Thank you so much. A colleague of mine asked about what land friends have to do. First and foremost, of course, worldwide, mostly in Africa, issues concerning intellectualism, of course, is a fierce factor to leadership. I was reading one of the books by Shakespeare, and in the book, there were two characters. There was one called Kent, the other one I've forgotten, and he stated that actually the first thing we should do is to kill all lawyers, meaning that lawyers are always a threat to leadership, because for them they always seek accountability. Then what do we need to do? Of course, we need to change the narrative. I like what the president is doing of Law Society, bring in these other arrangements away from the boardrooms. For example, having cocktail parties and all that, to connect us together as land friends, all those land friends. It can help us even resolve issues concerning what the site is going through. You get, beyond just being in boardrooms here, we speak, we say this and that, we make communiques and all that. You get, we need to come out of our comfort zone, just like what my colleague has stated, that we must always show up. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that answer, Miss Angel.
Thank you. I think I'm answering the Attorney General's question on this front. When we got independence, we knew what we did not want. We knew what we wanted to end. We did not know what we wanted to replace it. For so long as a country, we've been making noise about the NRM government. 40 years, most of us here haven't seen anything else. So for many of us, we know that maybe we want a different government, but we need to make sure that whatever comes next is not a repeat of this one with merely a different person or a different face. Sometimes we need to look beyond what it is we think we are fighting. So I've seen most opposition campaigns and stuff like that, and we are making so much noise about what the incumbent has not done, but what is the plan? We need to sit down and agree on exactly what it is that we want. If we are saying no corruption, it's going to be uncomfortable for some people. Maybe some families will lose their livelihoods, because let us look at maybe the police officers on the road. If we are saying that they only get salary at the end of the month, and yet somehow every night they come home with money, it's going to be uncomfortable for a minute, but we have to be okay with that discomfort. Because if we say we want change, then we have to change everything about the regime, not just the person, and then we have to recycle corruption and madness. I feel like that is what the mistake we did in these 63 years. We changed our warden, and that is all we did.
Thank you so much. Those are some stray bullets, but let's proceed. Yes, Mr. Chimtai.
Okay. See, there is theory and practical. Most people confuse theory for practicals, and that is a concept that should be changed. Before you attack anything, you first have to ask yourself about 5 to 6 questions. The what, the when, the where, the why, before you come to the how. I have seen people quoting countries like Kenya and all that. You have not lived in Kenya. That is why you are very able to quote and say political intolerance is in Uganda. But I want to say that first and foremost, one thing we should know is when we are reacting on the action plan, this is not an individual aspect. This is an aspect for everyone. And Rome was not built in one day. it was built in many years. So basically, to speak about the action plan, sometimes, and I do not know if it is me alone, when I sit down, then I imagine how many great people are coming up, the young ones, the Gen Zs. And then you want to really look at it from the perspective of who is leading them. Sometimes I question myself, because how can we be very many, and yet we are very informed, but we are still led in old version? You see? So there are a lot of players that contribute to an evil. But as it is said that there is time for everything, you just have to keep fighting and doing the right thing. There is doing the right thing and knowing the right thing to do. Many people do know the right thing to do, but they don't do the right thing. Like, for instance, we talked about cowardship. I know why I brought that issue. You see, we should be youth who remember that the families that we build are more important than the families that we come from. And if that was the mindset that we had, we would change the narrative. But since some of us are custodians of what their parents have done, they don't care about what their tomorrow comes, so they want to be in a situation where everything is about what has already passed. So we must be careful. One, we should know that the country that we build is more important than the country that we are coming from. That will shape our mindset. Number secondly is the question of law and other disciplines. Of course, there is a mindset that people have that lawyers are very special people, and that is what makes them so proud. Pride does not put food on the table. That is one thing you should know. Hard work brings you somewhere. So for the youth involvement in politics, first I began with an idea. You have the idea on how to transform what you see is not okay. Can you push it? Can you recruit others to believe in what you believe in? That is number one. Number two, you must look for money. There is no day in this country and anywhere in the world that we are going to drift back to not having so that you have. It's a narrative that you must work on as young people. Young people should embrace whatever activity that comes on their way that brings them money. Hard work and discipline. That is very key. So even as you get on to youth politics or any politics that you want to go, first, the reality is you must have money. If you don't have money, you look for money. They say corruption is older than man. You read the book of Genesis, you realize that corruption began with the first man. Yeah? So we are not legalizing corruption, but it begins from you. What do you believe as a person? Because I'm very sure, moderator, even if you went to an office,
yes,
the motive matters.
Yes.
If I went to an office and then I have gotten a reception which is nice, then I'm like, let me appreciate the receptionist. I think that is not corruption.
We shall see about that.
So we should look at the motive. What is the motive behind what you do, what you give?
Thank
and then
you so
lastly,
much.
practical steps that we can take. I wanted to echo on the issue of character. Let us work on our character. Character is very important. And as young people, what we aspire for should actually be in line with how we live. So just to say, involving ourselves in matters that will influence this, the changes in this country. We yearn for change. Like me, personally, I'm sorry. The only reason why I want us to have a discourse in the change of government is because I want to see a new person. Just my interest is, can I see X being so apart from Y? But other reasons I may not diverge on that. But first, I want to see a character, a different character in the play, so that but there are many evils that happen every day, but the youth are the perpetrators of most of these things because we don't stand to fight against them. So what am I trying to say? Let us work on our character, because at the end of the day, character matters.
Thank you.
I thank you for listening.
Thank you so much. May we please give them a round of applause. It's been an awesome question and answer session after the discussants had laid bare their thoughts and presentations. We don't take it lightly that you did some good research. We also don't take it lightly that you have come forth confidently, and the enthusiasm that you're speaking with is very telling. We would also want to request and remind you that Uganda Law Society is a convener of all such associations. We are very elated that you're all able to come in representation of different associations. This is very, very telling. Let's clap for them once again. So it's a very big thing, and we would also want to encourage you to know that we are here. If only, as the question was asked, what action points are available? One of the answers we'd like to give is the Uganda Law Society is available. Use the Uganda Law Society. The president of the Uganda Law Society, Isaac K. Semakade, the senior counsel, is very passionate about you. I want to imagine all of you have experienced that either individually or corporately, and the question is, what are you doing with that love and hospitality? Kindly visit the offices of the Uganda Law Society. Let's have a conversation. Let's see how the the Parliament can interact with the East Africa law students, can interact with the rule of law students, can interact with the Uganda Law Students Association. Is there something that can bring us together? Can we have a symposium? Can we brainstorm on how to bring the youth together more than just having lawyers in one room? Because I need to remind you that today you are inheriting the dreams and the unfinished struggles of the independence generation, because you know they are now going out. It's about time that we start to take lead, and we are at a juncture, an intersection of history and possibility. You guys have been exposed 1,000 times more than the old. You have global ideas, you have a lot of technology with you, and you can easily communicate with people that are not in this country. But what are you using that for? Are you simply on TikTok? As little children now, you can imagine a child of 3. My son keeps reminding me to give him the phone to watch TikTok. Is that something that you want to see going on? Can that child be of more use than just enjoy TikTok? You understand? It's about time that the youth take charge. As you said, Milton Obote was 25 years. That is around your age. What are you doing about that? Is there a place that you can come together? The Uganda Law Society is the answer. Ladies and gentlemen, we would like to thank you so much for this opportunity. Thank you for the time that we've spent. Those that are physically here, the students that have visited us, I wish you the best for the district councillor candidate. He is leading by example. May the Lord bless you. May God go ahead of you, and may you be the change that you want to see. And may these other youths that are here with us take that in stride and also act as you have done. And we pray that you'll have a smooth and victorious election. Thank you so much for standing out, just like the others are being called out too. The Uganda Law Society once again would like to say thank you very, very much. We were joined, as we said, by one council member in representation of the council, that is Council Alexander Lule, who has been a leader by example. He was the spearheader of the Masaka bar strike. If you remember, when the lawyers laid their tools down, this is what we have in the leader who led that strike. And you'll be sure that he's going to, while giving us closing remarks, is going to show us what it means to be a leader by example, as has been said by so many of the discussants. And the questions that were asked were really asking for people to show up. Mr. Alex Lule is in representation of the council, like I said, and would like to welcome him to the podium to give us closing remarks and thank everybody as we are about to end the program. Ladies and gentlemen, Council Lule Alexander, thank you so much.
Thank you. I will also stand on the protocol. Earlier on planted. Thank you, our guests. Thank you, the Secretariat. Thank you, ULS Council. the people online, fellow colleagues, you're all welcome. Thank you for being attentive and following up. I pray that we give a round of applause to our speakers of the day. That is not enough. Please. Thank you. Thank you. This is what the Radical New Bar stands for. Vision 2060. That vision encompasses all the youth, starting with you, your colleagues who are still there. The last time we were here, we had primary kids. We're also looking at those ones. So we are preparing you to follow in line as we follow the great and gallant men that you've talked about. Someone talked about Nkwame Nkrumah, another talked about Milton, and all the rest. So we are welcoming you and preparing you for that. I will give a few hints and remarks on what was addressed by the speakers. We do feel you. We do feel your pain. And we are trying, as the Radical New Bar, to address those concerns. One of the ways of addressing those concerns is this. Someone talked about civic spaces. The problem disturbing us is information. The youths are not informed. Maybe you are informed, but others are not informed. There are those that have not gone to school. Start with those ones. Start with your colleagues in school, even those that have not gone to school. Someone was talking about, I think it was the first speaker, what next? That is what the theme says. What next? We have violation of human rights. The youths have not been heard. The truth of the matter is that this country has really done less. We have done little for the youths. Yet when you look at the percentage, the youths take almost 78%. When we were still young, they used to tell us, emite mitoje jigumizechi. Now the emite mitojize yemwe. We need you okugumiza ekibira. So please don't lose it. Keep on struggling and getting there. Another speaker talked about reading a judgment. I was so amazed. You read a judgment and you are wondering whether the judicial officer who made the judgment was fit and proper. This is an LLB student. During our times, we did not have that luxury. I am very happy that this is not only felt by the lawyers in practice, but even the students. But as we are condemning this, you are the next judicial officers. What are you going to bring for us? That is a question for you to answer. We have had a problem with these organs, the three. Still another speaker raised the issue of the judiciary not being freely independent. The word is freely. We have independence. They are independent, but are they freely independent? Are they freely independent if we still have acting judges, judges in acting capacity? These are the same people you're taking decisions to make against the appointing authority. What do you expect to get from there? Who has the solutions? Yourselves and myself. So the fight is not only for the practicing lawyers. It is also for you, the youth. You take the majority. So please, wake up. We are faced with a situation where you have judicial officers in their acting capacity, they are complaining. You want to help them change that, they don't want to be helped. That is the system we are operating under. So as you are coming, we need solutions for these challenges. Then another issue that was raised was about the common laws. I will give you one charge of arson. Arson, the maximum sentence of arson is life sentence. But even when you burn a shrine, That is arson. Even when you burn a pigsty, that is arson, and you're entitled the maximum sentences. But I don't know if you all know the reason as to why some of these laws were brought. These are laws that were brought by the imperialists, the colonialists, because they had come in the country, they had put up farms, they had their structures or beautiful houses. So the locals used to come and burn these houses because that was their only means. They would come in the night, sneak and burn them. So they tried to impose such. We are still following that. Who is going to change this? It is us, the lawyers. I've seen some person who wants to become a councillor. I believe the next thing you're going to become is an MP. So if you become an MP and you go to the parliament, what are you going to do? These are the laws we are supposed to change. It is not only the lawyers that are supposed to do that. We know how laws are formed and passed in parliament. We know the contribution of lawyers is just very minimum. So please take note of that. Then I will go to the letters, the two letters. I liked that arrangement. Let us challenge ourselves. I want every one of us to write to ourselves a letter now. And after 5 years, you also write a letter to yourself. You will see that what she has given us is exactly what happens. The metaphor that we can bring in this is giving birth to a child. You expect a lot of beautiful things from this baby. But as the child grows, gets to 18, it is trouble. Gets to 30, very big trouble. So what do we do for this child? It is your child. What are we doing for the independence we have? The 63-year-old independent Uganda that is being a disappointment to all of us. What are we going to do about it? The answer is to be given by both myself and yourselves. You, the youth, and the lawyers online that are watching. We are the answer to this. I will give you a short story of 3 insects were in a room. There were ants, we had bees, and a cockroach. The ants brought a suggestion that the cockroach should be sprayed so that it dies. The bee did not say anything. When the boss came to spray the cockroach died, the ants died, even the bees that kept quiet died. That is a lesson to all of us. Don't say these things do not concern us. This message also goes to the lawyers listening out there. Things that concern ULS, us lawyers, the country at large, because we as lawyers are supposed to be the mouth of the society. If we just keep quiet and let things happen, what are we really going to do? We have betrayed everything that we stand for. Even that practicing certificate you have in your office that you're proud of, you shouldn't be having it. Someone posed a question of, are we really sure if Benedicto Chiwanuka came back, he would really want us to celebrate his day? It is we, the lawyers, and the judiciary that celebrates the day. But is the judiciary going to be happy? Would Benedicto Chiwanuka be happy with whatever they are doing? And then they come out to celebrate? There are a lot of things that keep on pondering around. But the answer is us. Like I have stated, we need to stand up all together, jointly. I don't believe in this thing of cowards live longer. The story I've just given you, we had a bee that was a coward and said, I'm not going to make any decision. What happened to the bee? It died alongside the other one who was brave and said, let you spray all of us. So you are cowardizing wherever you are, but these things are going to hunt. They are going to hit you. And you will not have any excuse. At least the other one who will have stood up and spoken will have some satisfaction that at least I did this. We, the bar in Masaka, did something that is unprecedented. Some judicial officers, we were before some judicial officer, and she was telling me, ever since I enrolled in 92, I've never had something of a sort. But where is it written that lawyers are not supposed to do certain things? We have dialogued. We have gone through. Everything is possible that they taught us to be legal. We have failed. Putting down our tools is also legal. But we are living in a situation which is telling you that that is illegal, that is not illegal. What do we do? Today, lawyers in Masaka, yesterday lawyers in Masaka, or the other time put down their tools. And we were hard. I am telling you, and I inform the bar that is watching, the members of the bar, that ever since our sit-down strike, we have so far had 4 criminal sessions in Masaka. It had never happened. We had almost had 2 years without a session. So I don't want to believe that that is the language these people understand, but they make us to believe that that is the language they do understand. So that goes to answer whoever was raising a question. What are we supposed to do? You have the answers. I don't believe the youths in Uganda are cowards. No, they are not cowards. I think they just lack motivation. And the people motivating them have not done enough. So you help those people do enough motivation for these people to listen and understand. So as I'm closing, we appreciate all of you. ULS house is open for all of us. Where you get challenges and need us, the council members are available, ULS is available. The president, our president, has really fought so much to bring this in action. But where is he? Do we all know why he's not here? He's not here because he sacrificed himself for a cause that we all believed in. And what did we do? Most of us have let him down. Instead of fighting behind him or alongside with him, we have left everything to him. This is not a cause of Semakadde. This is not a cause of Uganda Law Council. This is not a cause of a few lawyers. It is a cause of all of us. It is a cause for you, the students. Because if I leave my office, you're going to step in the office. I am here as the acting representative of the Central. Time is going to come and I'm going to go away. Who knows? One of you is going to be here. What are you going to do? You have the answers. Can we emulate what RNB stands for? It is time for us to radicalize everything. Decolonize yourselves. Stop believing in things to be done in a certain way. If that certain way does not give you results, what do? There is some I don't know whether it's called an emoji, I don't know those IT terms. It was showing a man was having a hook on one side of water, and there was only one fish. But on the other side, there was a lot of fish. But he was saying, me, I'm concentrating here until when I get this. Sometimes we need to change the style and ways of achieving certain things. I beg to stop here for God and my country. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. A very big round of applause. Sometimes we need to change the way and style of doing things. Those were the remarks of the acting representative of Central Uganda Law Society, Mr. Lule Alexander, who has ably showed us how it is to lead and also see how results can be orchestrated. It is very apparent that the Masaka Bar has brought forth 4 criminal sessions in Masaka that had never been seen in 2 years. You give him a round of applause as young lawyers who are coming to where he is, and also to the Uganda Law Society for hosting. We want to thank you once again. We have come to the close of this function. Would like to extend our gratitude and sincere appreciation to the discussants who took time to do the research and also honor the invitation. Would like to thank the students that made it to escort their colleagues as associations represented and the different universities. Would like to thank the leadership of the Uganda Law Society, beginning with the representative who is in the House, and of course the council in general that has also given us the platform. Would also like to thank the Lord for thus far that we have come. It is said in the book of Nehemiah that if you don't speak, you will not be heard. It was Nehemiah's approach to the king that enabled him to be given all the resources to build the wall that since was used to protect the Jerusalem people. So, ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end. We'd like to thank you and ask that God bless you from the Uganda Law Society, the council, the staff, the secretariat. May the Lord bless you. We're going to take the last opportunity to take pictures with the panelists, as is the culture. We're going to request that you come forth to the front, assemble over here. Let's take a picture for posterity purposes. Identify. We shall also take pictures with those that are willing to identify with the Uganda Law Society, so as to be ushered in for a plate of food to be shared by those that will still avail themselves. Thank you so much. May God bless you for God and my country.